Hello, good afternoon, good morning to everyone. I am back here again, and this is Sir Kotailo. And since this is now my sunset moments, I just would like to share to you something that I could also leave for the other generations, next generations, to our descendants. I've been listening to some speeches, messages, online seminars and webinars. But also I tried to reflect more on this academically. One thing was about the so-called moralities, righteousness. And I tried to quote a phrase from one that he said, just by looking onto an evilness or something not good is already evil. Maybe he means that you have to do something once you could see something wrong. But this is it. When a person is trying to correct one's mistake or mistakes, you're already being called as a person of many criticisms. Correcting is not criticizing. So if you observe one doing it good or answering it incorrectly, you have to also let him know what is the real answer, what is the real thing in those observations that you had. Critique is different from criticizing. Critique is also very much needed academically, just like in research. I was once working as a statistician in a graduate school, and as we tried to work and develop some materials, we tried to check if cognitively there are also variables in the modules or books being developed. So we have to check if there is skewed in the left or skewedness in the right, or if it is in the normal curve. So this is it. And you have to take a look also on the development of the intellectual skills of the students based from the materials you have developed. It's not only knowledge or information that you have to input to your students and learners. You have to take a look also on their understanding of what is being taught. Hindi lamang kaalaman, kailangan maintindihan din nila. At kung naintindihan din nila, matutunan nilang mag-compute. No? At kung matuto sila mag-compute, makaka-analyze sila. Kasi andun ang kasagutan dun sa computation eh. So ma-analyze nila kung malaki ba, may kakulangan ba, o sobra ba. And then, they can analyze. And after analyzing, they can evaluate. So, these are cognitive skills na hindi masyadong nabibigyan pansin ng mga siguro guro or ng mga supervisors, mga managers, mga leaders ng mga iba-ibang institution. Sa ngayon maraming ang mga feedbacks. One big thing na nakuha ko lang sa mga news ay itong galing sa World Bank. Kasi dito nangungutang ang Department of Education ng Philippines para magkaroon sila ng budget for the Department of Education. But a big institution like World Bank is also trying to observe, tinitingnan din nila if how far is the Department of Education, how far could they be effective, no? If there is really something that develops the information, the education, the learnings of the Filipino students. And accordingly, the World Bank says, I mean not World, yeah, World Bank. The World Bank says that they have observed na ang Filipino students daw are not learning what they should know. Ito, medyo malaking ito. Ang mga estudyante daw, mga fruits or products daw ng mga paaralan natin sa Pilipinas ay hindi daw natutunan ang mga dapat nilang natutunan. Kaya naging sampal yun sa gobyerno ng Pilipinas, particularly sa Department of Education. Humingi na ng public apology si Secretary Birones sa Department sa World Bank nito dahil sa ang ginamit niya ng data ng Department ng World Bank ay yung mga lumang data. 2019 pa atang mga data. Kaya luma na yon. Siguro sa ngayon mas maganda na siguro na medyo tumaas na siguro ang grado na, and maybe gumanda na rin siguro ang curriculum ng mga paaralan dahil sa ang sabi nga hindi daw natutunan ng mga estudyante ang dapat nilang matutunan. Meaning, it's not the grade level, no? Kung mataas ba o hindi ang grado nila, kundi tinitingnan ng mga institusyon na ito ang curriculum na dapat itinuro ng paaralan doon sa mga kabataan o sa estudyante nila. Now, isang sector lang yan, education or academic institutions. Now, maybe we can say that that belongs to the government or public schools. But it does not refer only to public schools because private schools also produce learners. They also produce graduates. Although there is a separation of church and state, private schools owned by churches are still under the government administration and supervision. They have to follow the standard of the Department of Education or the Commission on Higher Education. That for the private institution. Maraming mga dapat i-check, hindi lamang sa mga ganitong institutions. Medyo siguro sa mga religions or churches, wag na nating pakialaman yun. Kasi kung doktrina nila yon or dogma nila yon, prinsipyo nila yon, they have the freedom on that particular field. Politically, marami rin mga issues ngayon. Malapit ng election by October. Maybe there is medyo maingay lang kasi I did not close the window. Masyadong mainit na rin kasi dito. There is something about this succession of the vice president to the presidency. I think you know what I'm trying to point out. That if a daughter of a current president will also be a candidate for presidency and will win. And the vice president also, meaning na, the current president who is her father, will also file for a vice presidency position. Is it allowable that the current president will also file a candidacy for presidency in this coming election? According to the Constitution, the president cannot run or be re-elected because he has already served the maximum of 6 years as instated in the Philippine Constitution in 1987. But of course, if the president or elected president will die or will be incapacitated to give leadership to the Philippine nation, then automatically, as the Constitution said, the vice president will succeed for the operation of the governance of the country. Now, what is the bottom line in here? The Constitution prohibits the president for re-election because they just need to give a minimum number of years for a person to serve as president. He cannot be re-elected for another term, and so his number of years in his first term is just good enough for that election. Hindi na pwedeng mag-presidente ulit. Hindi na pwedeng magpa-re-elect ulit. Hindi tulad ng mga senador or congressman na meron pa silang second term or third term. Sa president, wala na. Now, ngayon, kung ang mag-ama, maybe I'll just mention names here because this is already very obvious. Inday Sara, she is now open for the presidency, but by this time, she's still making a survey if really people and the political structures in all provinces, regions, is really committed to support her. But she mentioned a day ago, that she is open to also file her candidacy for presidency. But that is still not a final decision. Likewise, the current President Duterte is also open to think seriously in filing for a vice presidency. Now, what politicians were thinking by now is, if elected, Sara Duterte Carpio will be elected as president, and the current president will be elected as the vice president by next year, then the two Dutertes will serve the two positions, the president and the vice president. And constitutionally, there is a kind of a law that there should be no political, how do we call that? I forget the correct term. Dynasty, the political dynasty. It is not allowed under our Philippine laws. But this is it. if they will be elected as president and vice president, and later the president will be incapacitated, then the Constitution says that the vice president shall succeed for the operation to administer the nation. That is constitutional. So that's it. I listened to the former Senate President Mang Juan Ponce Enrile, and I tried to balance what is really good in these political issues. But that's it. Another issue now is the the president of a big political party is trying to become inactive to their group. Not really inactive, but he is in a separate group within a political party. I'm pointing to Manny Pacquiao. He was not present during their assembly. And assembly or council meeting. And there were some decisions like bringing up President Duterte to become their mate or their candidate for vice presidency. But Manny Pacquiao is also thinking about running for president. Yesterday there was a news that he already turned out the party secretary who called for that meeting, the vice chairman of their party. Well, it's a kind of organizational issues, I believe. It's not, I could not say that that is political games, but that is a structural issue. And I think that is just merely for them. So this is it. As a learner and getting older, I just want to share these learnings in my sunset moments. I'm just talking the walk that I have passed. I hope I had lived something for you this time. Thank you very much. Thank you.